Dear colleagues, in this case posterior capsular rent occurred. Let us see how it happened and how I managed the case. The last piece of epinucleus has been emulsified and taken out, and now we can see that there is a thick sheet of epinucleus remaining there. And now it is more than half of the epinucleus. Now I try to mobilize this nucleus and I thought it will rotate nicely, but I see that it is not. It is not rotating nicely. So I try to elevate this thick sheet of nucleus, try to separate this, and here it is. It tends to go down. So this thick sheet of epinucleus, more than half of it, has given undue pressure on the posterior capsule, and the posterior capsule has ruptured by this undue pressure. I try to elevate this epinuclear sheet now, and my plan of action is to inject viscoelastic substance underneath and try to emulsify it and take it out. Since this is epinucleus and it is not nucleus, I may be able to remove it by gentle use of ultrasonic energy, low vacuum, low flow rate. Now I go into the anterior chamber. Flow rate is 30, vacuum is 250, and ultrasonic energy is 30%, and I am almost through. But here it is. A piece tends to go into the vitreous cavity. A part of the epinuclear sheet tends to go into the vitreous cavity. What to do now? I take a 24 gauge needle, and I inject the needle about 3 mm behind the limbus and support this epinuclear material from behind, and I use the chopper to mobilize it, to bring it in the anterior chamber. So with the help of this needle and the chopper, I become successful in bringing this epinuclear material into the anterior chamber. The capsular rent has occurred just in front of the main incision, and some portion of posterior capsule is still there on the other side, on the left side. And now I inject some viscoelastic substance. I'm still behind and giving some support till this viscoelastic substance is injected. This epinuclear material is now in the anterior chamber, in front of the iris and on the posterior capsule, which is still there, a part of the posterior capsule which is on the left side of the main incision. And now my plan of management is I'm going to implant an intraocular lens which will act as scaffold, and I will then use the cutter to remove this epinucleus. Since it is soft epinucleus, I will be able to remove it by the cutter itself. I enlarge the main incision up to 3.5 mm so that I'm going to inject a multi-piece intraocular lens so that the cartridge easily goes into the anterior chamber. And here it is. This is a B cartridge from Alcon, and the lens is sensor multi-piece lens. Yes, the lens is sensor multi-piece lens, and the cartridge is B cartridge from Alcon. In B cartridge I can use only one hand to inject it, and my left hand is free if it is required. Since there is posterior capsular rupture, I want to keep my left hand free for if I need it for supporting the posterior, supporting the epinuclear material or anything. And now I have placed both the haptics in the sulcus, and I am very sure about it. The trailing haptic is not yet in the sulcus. The leading haptic has gone into the sulcus in front of the anterior capsular rim. Now this is the trailing haptic. I want to make sure that it goes into the sulcus in front of the anterior capsular rim. So I make the area clear, all the epinuclear material that was there. I remove it, I push it towards 6 o'clock and make this free, and now the lens is in the sulcus. Now I take cutter, vitrectomy cutter. I was using Oatley Cataracts 3 phaco machine, and it has got a pneumatic cutter, built-in pneumatic cutter, which offers 1200 cuts per minute, and it has got inbuilt air compressor. So it is very useful in managing posterior capsular ruptures. Now here it is. The cutter is entering into the anterior chamber through the left side port, and the irrigation is through the right side port, and I am about to start removing this epinuclear material. Yes, it is coming easily. I am just feeding the epinuclear material into the cutting port, and it is removing the epinuclear material nicely. Since it is not ultrasonic energy, there is no ultrasonic energy, I have to be slow and I have to be patient in removing all the epinuclear material. Irrigation is through the side port, which is at around 8 o'clock, and the cutter is going through the 2 o'clock side port, and now I am through. The solid epinuclear material has been removed. Now I change hands. Now irrigation is through the side port at 2 o'clock, and the cutter enters into the anterior chamber through the 8 o'clock side port, and whatever vitreous strands are there, I am cutting and removing. And now at this time I have stopped cutter, and I am trying to pull the cortical matter which is there at the equator of the capsular bag. The bag is not intact. posterior capsule has ruptured. And now what to do? How to remove this cortical matter? I take a Simcoe cannula, at this time a 23 gauge Simcoe cannula, and I try to remove this cortical material, cortical lens matter. But it was not coming nicely. I'm thinking what to do. Should I go behind the IOL and use the cutter to remove the cortical matter that I can see? Yes. So I have gone behind and I am removing the cortical matter that is behind the IOL. I can see that the posterior capsule is, a portion of the posterior capsule is intact there, and I'm not trying to cut it, because if I try to cut it, some epinuclear lens matter will go into the vitreous cavity. Now the irrigation is through the 8 o'clock side port. The cutter is going through the main incision. Antechamber is nicely formed. And I am using the cutter to remove cortical lens matter as well as vitreous strands that has come through the rent. Now I'm going through the 2 o'clock side port and removing the cortical lens matter from the right side of the main incision, that is from 9 o'clock, from 10 o'clock, and now it is coming nicely and vitreous is not disturbing at this time. With cortical matter from 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock has been removed. Now what I am trying to do is, if there is any vitreous strands, if there is any viscoelastic substance, it should come out by just irrigation. I am not going to aspirate with the Simcoe cannula. Now I go in front of the intraocular lens and just flush out the viscoelastic substance, and that's it. It is looking nice now, quite acceptable. Just checking if I need to put any suture, and I see that it is not necessary. Now I hydrate the side ports. This is the side port at 8 o'clock. The side port, other side port, it is also hydrated, and this is the final wash. In this case I probably should have used triamcinolone acetate, which I did not. However, I have followed up this case postoperatively, and there is no vitreous strands that has come to any of the wounds, I mean not to the side ports or to the main incision. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this video will be very useful in managing PC rents. It will give some clue to you what to do at what stage. Thank you very much.